then the baseball bat can hit that guy in the head and like do damage to him or like kill him completely. So every time that happens, I'm like, holy shit, that's pretty cool. I got a free one there. Hello and welcome to the bottom of the internet. This is another Dead Pixel, the podcast that wishes it was still the 90s. My name is Nick and I'll be your host. Here with me today, the man who was Bill Clinton's other intern. It's Joe. Joe, how are you doing today?
Feeling pretty lucky. I mean, I dodged a bullet and a stain.
Do you ever wonder why maybe you weren't preferred, chosen? I don't
Well,
know.
maybe because, I don't know, I would have been like in middle school. So, yeah, not really an intern. Uh,
Okay, I forgot about that. All right. Yeah.
I'm not that old, dude. Seriously.
Yeah, to be an intern in the 90s. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the things that you probably got away with as a corporate executive or a political boss. Yeah, it was probably a nightmare.
Well, I mean, he almost got away with it, but he didn't quite. Yeah. Well, you'll have to tell us more about being an intern later, I guess. But besides that, you did you have a good Memorial Day weekend?
Yeah, it was pretty all right. Really sore and really tired. I had a buddy of mine come down to visit, and to celebrate the weekend, we got to move my house around. We just rearranged a bunch of rooms, uh, brought some stuff from upstairs to downstairs and vice versa, and a lot of heavy wood furniture, and just the
Sucks.
two of us and a dolly. So
Just two dudes and a dolly. That's all you
yeah,
need.
it was. I mean, when you have this giant, like 6 foot, uh, solid wood dresser, and I am fully sitting and leaning as far back as I can, going down the stairs with this dolly. My buddy's on the back end, just being like, "Yep, I got it.
I
All right,"
got
and like, and we got one more millimeter, and it drops to the next step, and just like praying that I just don't let it go and just careen into him as it, because it'll pin him against the door at the end of the stairwell, and he just be. You ever see The Sixth Sense? That's my imagination when she gets pinned to the tree. That would have been him with that oak furniture just right against the door.
Wasn't that in Signs?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, it was Signs, not Sixth Sense.
Still M. Night
Yep,
Shyamalan, but yeah. Yeah, I
yep.
mean, you're probably just like praying that your knee doesn't give out as you like,
Yeah, it was
like
pretty
work
bad. It's
down the
my
stairs.
hands. I was just like from gripping for so long. I'm like, I can't unfold my fingers.
You're like, Adam, I'm sorry. Just let go. Yeah, my dad helped me move. We don't have anything that big, or I don't have anything that big. Everything that I have can pretty much be broken down. I do have a pretty good size. I don't know, like 4 or 5 drawers tall dresser, and then kind of a long. I don't even know what you'd call it. It's another kind of dresser that's kind of long, but and they're solid wood, but they're not. I don't know, for some reason they're not that heavy, so it wasn't too bad. But getting them up and down the stairs was a big pain. So I totally feel your pain. But
Oh man, when you have a king size mattress that is like not just a straight up old fashioned spring box or something, but
mm,
like memory foam and all this other crap, that becomes a nightmare because you just can't bear hug this mattress up there or squish it because it's flipping just moving around like Gumby in your arms or something.
it's like it's not that heavy, but it's like heavy enough, and it's just so unwieldy, and you can't
Oh
get a
no,
grip
this
on
this
it.
this piece of junk was stupid heavy too.
Oh,
It was a
God.
dense piece of crap. It's like, yeah, it was one of those purple mattresses
Yeah.
that's so it has that like rubbery texture on the front, but also has springs in underneath it. Yeah, that was also. It's like it's a great decision to go ahead and buy one because they're comfy and they're nice, and we got this king size, so like for when we had our kids, we're like, yeah, our kids are gonna probably jump in on this with us, so that's fine. And then I never think about moving it. I'm like, "Oh, you know what? I should just burn this mattress, just light it on fire, and then just buy a new one, all nice rolled into a nice cylinder, and have them just move that cylinder upstairs because it is almost not worth it." Or just pay like two guys, 2 guys in a truck to come to my house, move my furniture within my house, and be like, "Okay, guys, that's all I needed you for."
That's all I need you guys
Uh,
for. Yeah, burning your mattress. That is the custom. Just make sure you move it outside of your house before you do it.
yeah.
It's a little harder to clean up whenever it's in there. But yeah, I'm about to go on vacation here soon, so we're recording just a little bit early. Um, but in preparation for going on vacation, I'm actually going to Yellowstone. So I've never been there before, so that should be pretty fun. But I'm not going to have really any time to do much. So I've been actually been cramming the new season, season 4 of Stranger Things, um, and it's pretty good. You said, I think you were telling me before the podcast that you've actually watched a little bit of Stranger Things in the
Yeah,
past.
I
Is that
made it
right?
to season 3, and then I just fell off a sharp cliff. It
Yeah,
was really rough finishing season 2, and so season 3, I just came out with, like, no wind in the sails, and I'm like, "You know what? I just don't care. I'll get around to it eventually. This is probably the last season, right?" And, of course, they're like, "No, this is coming up, next year will be season 4." I'm like, "Oh, then I really don't care. I'll wait for that season to come out, then I can watch 2 seasons." Um, I
yeah.
don't know, it just seemed I was really disappointed with season 3 or season 2 and then the start of season 3.
Let's see.
Uh,
Like season 1 was great because it was kind of new and no one really done that anything like that in a very long time. And season 2, I'm trying to remember. Oh yeah, that
she
was
runs
like,
away and there's that whole arc of her running away, finding herself kinda deal
oh
was kind of
yeah. Spoilers for season 2. I hated everything. It was in Pittsburgh. She ran away to Pittsburgh, right?
probably. I just said she ran away, so I was trying to be vague about it, but yeah, no, for sure. I don't remember exactly where she runs off to, but that whole
The
latter
kids.
half of the season was just really not doing it for me.
Yeah, yeah. I remember season 2 now. Like that was. I had more. I had more care about it then. I like season 3, but like I liked it okay. I think it was good, kind of what they did with it, and they added like some good characters and stuff. But
See,
see,
season 3 was, like, started off kind of odd, I guess, I just don't care enough, and so, like, it was just like, everyone has to have a relationship now, okay." I never was a fan of, uh, the kid with the frizzy hair, who like, especially in season 2 where he's like, "I'm gonna raise this monster, and it's gonna
Dustin.
be my friend."
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That did get. Yeah, I mean, like I actually think he's one of the better characters overall. He is kind of annoying. I will admit that there's times where he's annoying, but they do give him some pretty good lines, and he is. I don't know, like he is. All of them kind of feel like they're from an '80s movie, but he just feels like he's straight out of a legit '80s movie to me. Just because he's so kind of I don't know, dorky and weird, but also sort of sly, smart. I don't know. Um, but
He deserves to get his face eaten, that's all.
yeah, um, I forget what he has. He has a certain condition that causes him to look that way. Um, but
Does he? I just assume
he
I
does,
like,
yeah.
I know the hair is no, it's funny because it's just, there's a song, a remake of a different song that, essentially looks the singer I can't remember the name of the song right now, but this kid, looks like a grown-up version of him. Like, if he's just, like, tall like a teenage, like, straight up, like, I don't know, like, 17-year-old version, I'm like, he looks like he has the hair, he has, like, some of the same, like, bone structure, just a little thinned up and a little and taller, and it was just funny because it's like, Sugar, why you can't get so high or something like that, or Fly? Yeah, it's like it's a remake of an older song, and it was just really funny because I'm like I just happened to be I saw it on once on YouTube, I'm like, "Oh, dude, this kid just looks like a big version of him. I'm like, this he's totally going to grow up to look like this kid.
Huh.
Um, but
Okay.
yeah, no, I don't know. Stranger Things. It was just really uh, I don't know, it really was a cool concept. Uh, like season 2 just disappointed me so badly to the point where like, more spoilers, but they do Samwise so dirty at the end. Um,
Yeah.
just because they have to shoehorn force in this other love interest. Season 3 starts out with the two main kids just being complete like assholes and being like, yeah, we don't care about this father figure because we're now teens, and like, yeah, you guys have kind of seen some things. You would think you would be forced to be a little more mature. Uh, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
He's like, there's a reason why the sheriff dude is a little more protective because maybe the guys realize there's monsters out there. Uh,
I
and
think.
of course, the one poor kid's just getting PTSD and everything else thrown under him. So
Oh, Will, the one that was stuck in the alternate dimension in the
yeah,
first. Yeah. Um. Yeah. It's. Yeah. Um. The show kind of. The first two seasons, they were like, well, we got to stick with this small town. We've got to, make kind of like all the big stuff kind of come to the kids and come to the town. And then season 3, they were still like, they kind of expanded it out, but they, were trying to still keep it like in that zone. With season 4, the kids are older now. They're in high school, and certain things have happened to where they're split up, and there's like a lot of characters, so they kind of have like 3 main groups of these characters. Um and so they're kind of able to make it kind of make more sense as far as like the craziness that goes on. It's like, well, it's not everything is just coming to this weird Indiana town. Now it's more like, so this part of the United States, some of the people are, and this part of the United States, the other people are. So it makes sense. Like, okay, so there could be like I don't know, a cabal of evil people over here and over here. Anyway, it has a bigger scope to it now as well, which kind of makes it more interesting, I think. So when I first started watching the show, like I wasn't in a hurry to watch it, and I saw it come on. I was like, I'll watch something else. But I went ahead and jumped on it, and the first episode, man, I was like, I don't know, this show may have lost its luster completely, because they introduced a bunch of new characters in the first episode of this 4th season, and they all suck. Like they're all bad. I'm like, man, I hate all of these new characters. Why are they showing me these people? But all of the old characters were like, okay, like they're all still the same and likable and stuff like that. Um, so like, so as the show kind of went on, this is kind of a minor spoiler, but like it was like the second or third episode, and I was like, oh, all the new characters suck because they're just props. They're not like really for anything. They're just like there to have things happen to them so that the main characters can react to it. And I was like, oh, okay. So they kind of deal with the new characters that way. And there are some of the new characters that are like kind of that do stick around and sort of become more or less part of the sort of the main cast a little bit. And those are okay. So the ones that do kind of stick around, they did kind of start to grow on me. I was like, oh, okay, they're not all bad. The weird thing is that like there's only 7 episodes of this volume 1 of this season 4. There's 7 episodes. All the episodes are over an hour long. They're all about like an hour and 15 minutes. So they're pretty long. It doesn't seem like that much more, but I mean, like that's like 25 minutes more than like a standard like 50-minute kind of thing that they usually do. So they all kind of feel sort of like mini movies in a way. And but they don't drag. They're all pretty well paced, and they all have a good like thing going on. The mystery of this show is pretty good. they have a couple different things going on, and all of the things are kind of fitting together slowly but surely. There's like enough satisfaction in each episode, but also a good like overarching thing. And like that kind of, I don't know, for some reason I was thinking about this, and it just made me realize that like um that like Harry Potter is pretty much the same thing as Stranger Things. It's just kids trying to solve a mystery in this weird world. Um and it
When you
it's
boil it down to the most bare bones,
I mean,
yes, but
but
you can say
like
that about everything
but
kids
like
related.
Lord of the Rings is not that. It's not like a mystery, and it's not like
But it's not a bunch of
kids.
kids either. I mean,
It's I know
yes, you
it's none of
hobbits are
that.
short, but they're
Like
not children.
it's none of that. I'm just saying that like this is kind of a non sequitur, so I'm not gonna just dwell on it for very long. But I was just like watching this, and I was like, I don't know, for some reason Harry Potter popped into my mind, and I was like, I always thought of Harry Potter more akin to something like Lord of the Rings, or I don't know, just like something magical. Um, and in a lot of ways, it has a lot of the same beats. Like it's in a lot of ways, it's more like the old, um, Nancy Drew and Hardy Boys and Scooby Doo, kind of the way this show is. Anyway, that's enough of my idiot rant.
Well, I
Non
mean, so
sequitur.
the one I brought this up one of our other podcasts, but when I showed my buddy the Power Rangers 2017 remake, he pointed out to me, and I didn't realize it because when I first saw it, I saw it before Stranger Things had or before I watched Stranger Things, and uh, season season 3 when Max comes into play. Uh, Her brother Billy is the Red Ranger for the 2017 remake. It was
Yeah.
really funny because I'm like, oh, like I didn't see it at first, and I paused. And I'm like, oh man, you were right. I did not expect that, and you know, does a very good job of being in at least in that season, or I'm seeing of season 2. He's a great asshat. He's just like this jerk of a person that you just have no love for, and you're just like, yeah, you can die now anytime. And he did a pretty good job of being Jason, the Red Ranger, in the remake. So
Yeah, I still never
just
seen Power Rangers 2017. So like Billy, seeing him as Billy the first time was my first time seeing him. So we kind of have. So if I did see it, if I did see Power Rangers, I'd probably have
I
the
wonder how hard it'd be to wrap your head around that. Yeah.
reverse thing. Yeah, um, yeah. But yeah, it's kind of a weird thing. A little more of the shit sandwich, I guess, for this show is by now in season 4 they're doing the same thing that they've done every other season. It's the same formula. So it's kind of a spoiler here too, but like what they do in every season is they split everybody up, especially 11, and they split everybody up, and they spend the whole season trying to get everybody back together, with all their pieces of the mystery and stuff like that. And it works. It's all right, but like it's good that the show is ending now, because I don't know how many more seasons of. I mean, I don't know how many more seasons of that I could take. I think it would really start to wane, even with like a lot of budget and good writing thrown at it. It would just be like, oh, okay, how much of this are we going to do? Especially since 11 has to go and relearn how to use her powers again. It's just like, okay, yeah, but we're going to do this one last victory lap. So I guess it's okay. And the
Until the movie, which will be like them, like in starting university. Watch, they'll do something like that.
I'm glad you should mention the movie, because the way
Oh,
that
there's a
this
movie. I was just joking.
the way that this season is set up, you're not totally right. You're only kind of half right. The way this season is working out is they've got 7 episodes. They're all a little over an hour long. Um, uh, some quite a bit more. Like the seventh episode's like an hour and 40 minutes, so it was a good chunk. Um, and it ends on a relative cliffhanger. And they are releasing the last two episodes on July 1st. So I guess the first part of season 4 was released on June or May, somewhere May 25th, somewhere around there. Um, and the last part is going to be released on July 1st. It's going to be two episodes. The first one's like an hour and a half, and the second one's like 2.5 hours. So it seems to me like they're going to probably wrap up the show halfway through that 2.5 hour one, or like wrap up like the main villain, bad guy, whatever. Um, at that point, and then probably spend the rest of the show kind of saying goodbye to everybody. That's what I imagine happening. But yeah, like the overall story of the show is really good. It's very well written and engaging. And as soon as they kind of got rolling around that episode 2 or 3 mark, got back into the swing of things, I was like, oh, okay, I remember why I like this show, because the characters are strong and everything is pretty well done. But yeah, it's pretty good, and I am looking forward to the episodes that are going to come out in July. I'm glad we don't have to wait very long. I'm not really sure why they're doing that, other than maybe to make people keep their subscription for a little longer.
I
But
know
yeah,
last season, 3, they released it on the 4th of July as well that weekend.
yeah,
And so they did the first part of this right before Memorial Day weekend. And sounds like they're doing, if they're going to release the last bit on the 1st of July, that's the Friday before 4th of July again.
yeah.
So they're trying to, maybe just, also coincide with people's time off. They'll be home theoretically. They can get more viewers that way.
Yeah,
Uh, at least that's what.
yeah, maybe, like, like how, I mean, it's still kind of the case, but especially when we were kids, like there was always like a mega movie that came out in July. There was always like the blockbuster of the year.
Will Smith had like 4 of them or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, like May, June, July. Like there's always a big one in May, and there's always a big one in July to me. Um, and I kind of wonder if maybe Netflix is trying to do that again. Like we're gonna release something big, kind of a blockbustery for us in July, and capitalize on people being off or whatever. I don't know, but yeah, it's a good show. I recommend it. I think it's probably better. It's been better so far than season 3 was to me, I think. But it's pretty good, and looking forward to more of it. So that's what I've been watching. I just finished it like a few minutes before the podcast started. I was like, I think I can do it. I think I can make it. But anyway, that's all I've been watching. What have you been watching, Joe?
Well, I haven't been watching too much because of the long weekend and just been super busy. But with my buddy coming down to to help me with the moving, I decided to show him Kim's Convenience. I know I've mentioned this before on the podcast, but this it's a really funny show, and they've now not that long ago they released season 5. I believe that was last year sometime. And for those of you who don't know, essentially it's a Korean family that runs a convenience store in Canada, and most noted right now is the one of the main characters. He's the guy who plays um, Shang-Chi. The his I'm gonna pronounce his name incorrectly. It's like Simu Louis or something like that. It's he's Chinese. So yeah, Chinese guy playing a Korean person, but not that surprising. Um, and the father in that show, he's actually supposed to be casted to be in the new Avatar: The Last Airbender movie. So he's going to be playing like the uncle, or at least that's what rumors have it right now. Until it's official, or I think it might actually be a new series coming out. But yeah, supposed to be Uncle Iroh, which I think he looks the part, and Uncle Iroh sings, and this guy can sing, so I'm kind of looking forward to it.
Hmm.
Can't be any worse than the last Airbender movie. So Yeah.
Yeah, that was
That,
horrible. I remember seeing that in the theater. Uh,
oh wow, I would have never have.
my friend at the time wanted to see it, and I was like, okay, because he watched The Last Airbender, and we were in there, and man, it was awful. I was like, this is The Last Airbender. He's like, no, this is not The Last Airbender. This is some shit that they threw together, and I was like, okay. So
Oh wow.
anyway,
Yeah. Oh, it turns out so the guy who plays the father in the series of Kim's Convenience, he's Paul Sun Hyung Lee, and he's actually, you'd know him actually from both The Mandalorian and Boba Fett. He's actually Captain Carson Teva. Uh,
yeah, yeah, I
so
did notice he was in that. Yeah, well, I've seen the first couple episodes of Kim's Convenience, but I haven't. I didn't stick with it. It is a show that I kind of want to watch, but there's always been something else on the way. But yeah, he is a X-wing pilot um, in those two shows. Um, he does a good job there. He's just kind of just like getting a paycheck, I think. But in Kim's Convenience, he's very funny. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, forever immortalized in the Star Wars, universe. So why not? But yeah, it's just rewatching the show again, the series again, and that I do this with my buddy. I get him hooked on something, and then he'll just run away with it. Did this with uh, both Lucifer. I got him into that TV show, and then he is like he got hooked on that. Went to what was it, The Good Place, got him hooked on that. So it's kind of my go-to. Is like, yeah, I'll start a show, and then I just won't get around to finishing it because I'm just really bad at sticking with shows. But he'll be like, yeah, dude, you got to finish this series, or if it doesn't pan out, he'll warn me. I'm like, okay, cool, I don't feel that guilty anymore about not finishing it. So that's kind of my shtick with him. And
Um,
yeah,
uh,
but right now he's like really rooting for one of the side characters. He's like, I hope this person ends up with the person they want to end up with. And I'm like, I'm not gonna say anything.
so he is enjoying it a lot.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That's
It's a really simple show to watch. It doesn't take much. I've I find it really funny because their broken English is pretty spot on from what I've personally experienced, and my
yeah.
m- my mother speaks with a certain level of that level of English. So yeah, it's funny because she understands English just perfectly fine, but she'll never get rid of her accent, and just certain things she'll always say differently. No matter, she knows better, but it's just ingrained into her to say things incorrectly, I guess. Um,
That's
so an anniversary will forever be an Anna birthday. Uh, so my wife and I will always wish each other an Anna birthday. Um, yeah, I love my mother, but at the same time, it's really funny to make fun of her about certain things.
I had a I had an economics teacher in college who was Chinese, and she said that kitchen and chicken always threw her off. That she could never, like, whenever she went to say one, she would say the other. And we thought that was really funny. Um,
Oh, dude, teaching kids in Japan, being like, all right, love and rub. To, I'm gonna, yeah, let me rub your shoulders. Because for those who also don't know, uh, there is no hard L sound, so it's a rolled R, uh, and the V's are B's, so love becomes rub, and so it's very hard for certain things to be differentiated. But yeah, that's one of those things that, like, if you think your English is good, say love, and they'd be like rub. It was really fun to mess with the my elementary school children that way.
I had a friend from college who tweeted out one time. He was teaching English in Japan. He tweeted out. He said, "Children, the tea in peanut butter is very important." Man, I thought that was so funny. But yeah, that's cool, man. Yeah, Kim's Convenience is a show I'd like to watch at some point, but um, so many things in the way. I'm glad your buddy's enjoying it though. Um,
Yeah, for sure. I'm actually starting, like I said, it's one of those things that I'm starting to rewatch again. Though I should be watching a bunch of other things, but I was like, I slowly find myself like that's a great show to have in the background as well. Uh, yeah, it's one of those like, yeah, it's okay since I've already seen it probably the first half like 3 times now because it's a show we end up showing to friends or family,
mm,
and then they end up watching it, and yeah, so this is our like third time going through the first half. Maybe I'll actually make it to the ending half this time.
maybe, maybe we can only hope. So that's what we've been watching, but we've also been playing some games. I have been playing Sifu more or less. I kind of quit on it a few weeks ago, and I was planning to try to get back to it more, but there's a lot of other stuff to play too. And so with Sifu, I made it through. So I guess I should explain to anybody that doesn't know what Sifu is. Sifu is I guess you would call it a roguelike in a way. It's a like a martial arts action fighting game, not really like a not like a 2D arena fight or anything like that, but like you kind of go through a 3D world and you use fighting moves to defeat enemies. Um, it's a game uh, with a kung fu heritage, steeped in kind of a Hong Kong uh, style of kung fu. It's got a kind of a typical martial arts kung fu action movie type story about family and revenge, sort of. The kind of the kind of weird thing about this game, the mechanic being that you start out at 20 years old whenever you kind of get into the main part of the game, and every time you die, you age a year the first time, and then the second time you die, you age 2 years, and then the third time, like I think 3 years. Yeah, it goes like that. So it kind of goes on and on and on. Um,
Yeah, so it's the you're aging the amount that you died. So it's not just like first time you die you're 21, then you're 22, but then you go to 22 to 25 because you're counting actually I'm sorry. Yeah, so you're counting the amount of deaths as the years you grow older. So that's how if I remember correctly that's how it's progressing your death count. So if you died 5 times, it's literally you're adding each amount of death. So 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5, kind of, and then that's what's being tacked onto your age.
right, exactly. So you can like so you like age more and more, and then as you age, you gain offensive ability, but you lose defense. Then there's all kinds of like upgrades and stuff that you can get to. Game is really hard. The game is pretty hard. You can kind of power your way through it, and just kind of like, oh, I'll just die a bunch and just kind of get through it. But then you kind of shoot yourself in the foot by doing that later on. So you kind of have to play like the missions over again, and you're able to find shortcuts though, so that you don't have to fight as many enemies. You can kind of cut through and get to the boss of the level with fewer with hopefully with fewer lives lost and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, so it's a pretty cool game. I think that a lot of the moves that they give you and the upgrades that they give you, they're just not really particularly useful. Like they give you moves and stuff, and there's nothing in there that's like really my favorite or that I'm really like, oh, that's good to use. Like kind of like the standard uh, blocking and defending and dodging is really all that I like count on. I guess if I got good at the game, then I would be more inclined to use those like special moves, but they don't really like grab me. So I don't know. Those kind of things. I'm like I just found that I was just picking stuff at random and not using it. I don't know. Maybe somebody who's done really well at the game could tell me like how those moves are really important. But so that's kind of a negative for it because it's like, why are you giving me all this stuff if I'm not? I'd rather have less and it'd be really powerful or useful in some way, or show me like, hey, you need to use this, like this move in this way, but it's not really defined that way. But still, like just the general fighting is really good. The story is like it's kind of a mystery that you're sort of unraveling as you go. I was able to get through the first two levels. The first level is hard-ish, but it's easy enough. The second level does ramp up in difficulty, and powering through that, I'm like 60 or like 55 or something whenever I start the third level, which immediately kicks my ass hardcore. So it's definitely a game that takes a lot of patience, but it is pretty satisfying when you do get through a certain area and you just like whipped everybody's ass and like taken like very little damage because there is a lot of like there's like parrying and blocking and dodging and like learning how to use certain people against each other. Like one of the cool things is that the enemies have friendly fire. So like if an enemy swings like a baseball bat at your head and you duck out of the way, and there's a guy and there's another enemy standing next to him, then the baseball bat can hit that guy in the head and like do damage to him or like kill him completely. So every time that happens, I'm like, holy shit, that's pretty cool. I got a free one there. Um,
Yeah, so in this, one of the reasons why it's so technical and difficult is it's done by Slow Clap Games or Slow Clap, and they are the ones who did Absolver. And Absolver was a very technical, like sword play kind of fighting game. So this is right up their alley, uh, in that technical aspect. From what I didn't get too terrible far in this game. Just things got in the way, but I really did like what I had to play. I ended up using a lot of the finishers and a lot of just uh, I used quite a bit, but unfortunately did not have a controller to really work on my PC too well, so I ended up having to use the mouse and keyboard kinda
Dude,
deal, a
I
and I
don't,
found that to be a bit more difficult.
I don't know how. I don't know. I mean, like, I don't know how, man. I don't know how you. I should try to play it that way because that's wild. On a controller, I mean, it makes sense. But it is like it is hard. There's like I don't know. There's sometimes where it just kind of gets frustrating, but you have to learn like, oh, I shouldn't have been in that position. I should have backed away. I should have like run away a little bit and like kind of trailed them off. But every once in a while, there'll be a dude that will go. He'll like get inflamed, and then like you'll get him to where he's almost killed, and then it's just a random like grunt unit, but he'll get like hot or whatever, and he'll be like on fire, and he'll his health will go all the way back up, and then his like fighting ability will go way up, and he'll become even harder to kill. And so like with those guys, you just have to like I leave those for last. Like I'll fight everybody else, and then but then they're also like really aggressive, so they're like coming at you, so you have to dodge them more. It's really tough, but you just kind of have to strategize with like the kind of enemies that you're getting and just sort of deal with it.
Yeah, for me, the hardest part was, crowd control.
Oh,
That's I felt like they should have had a little more options for crowd management. Um I mean, I'm glad they didn't go with, like the boring Batman Arkham fighting style that's in everything. I mean, because this is a very much a different game than those.
yeah,
Uh, so, I mean, it's if you wanted something like that, then you go to Sleeping Dogs, and that's much like a more simplistic arcade fun kind of game. But this is very it's very technical in a lot of the ways, and it has just really good animations for showing the old kung fu fighting style, and I really do enjoy the game a lot, but it's just unfortunately it is a high learning curve. um and
yeah,
whenever you had a crowd, like I said, whenever you had a crowd, it's just I try to dodge or get like skirt my way around the outside so then I can like at least have everyone as much as possible just be it on one side. But yeah, if you get surrounded, you can get messed up real quick.
Yeah, yeah. There's some parts of the game that are just really freaking hard, and you just have like I just remember playing through it and being like, shit, ugh, just like getting like that visceral anger whenever you like die to it. That but that's like it's kind of it sounds like a bad thing, but when a game can like make you do that and then keep playing, I think it's a really good thing in general. But yeah, some kind of crowd control thing, like a grab that you could earn, like a grab and hold that you could earn that would let you hold on to an opponent, um, and use them as like a human shield, like and have like a consumable for that because there's consumables in it as well, that are kind of hard to use and I think are a little bit underutilized. But something like that would have kind of made some of the crowd control stuff a little bit easier, at least so you feel like you're navigating it a little bit better. But they probably thought of that and they probably just couldn't make it work, probably with the rest of the game. But yeah, it's a good game. I think it definitely is going to be on my game of the year list. It's going to be somewhere in there, I imagine, in my top 10, almost certainly. But it is tough and it's time to move on. So yeah. Anyway, so that's what I've been playing. Joe, you've been playing a couple of things though, right?
Yeah, so I mentioned it last week how I gave I was playing a little bit of Game Pass on my phone. I was playing that um it was a Euden Chronicles,
Oh yeah,
and I gave that one a shot, and I played it the most unoptimized way possible, and that was just playing on my phone, while using data, trying to just stream this game from Game Pass,
yeah.
and it got me curious to see how many of the other games really work and to what quality effect. So during my work lunches and such, I've been starting to play with that a little more, and I went ahead and I first started off with Luminous. If Luminous is an old music rhythm game, uh, it actually the creators of that new Tetris Connect, uh, the one that came out for VR, and I think it's also free on Game Pass now. Uh, it's the same creators of that, and so it's a lot of people really liked it. I think it was a launch game or a really early game for the PSP. If I yeah, so it's literally a puzzle-ish game where you're dropping Tetris-like pieces. It's just and your goal is just to match up the different colors to try to make a block of four or more. And there's a constant line that comes sweeping by from left to right on your screen, and it'll clear those clumps of blocks you built while playing music. And so the music was a really good thing that a lot of people got into, and for me, it never really hit home. It was just there's something about it that just didn't feel quite right. But I haven't played it since the PSP, so I figured I'd give it a shot. And for the most part, the streaming worked really well. I was just using 4G because my phone's a little older, and the initial load got a little hiccup or a little menu screens. But once I actually got into the game and I started playing, for the most part, I had a pretty fine experience with this game. The part that was not so great for me was the cell phone on-screen touch buttons,
Hmm.
mostly the D-pad, because I would
Yeah.
constantly be hitting what I thought was left or right, but I was just a little down far enough to hit down, so I'll just instantly drop my blocks instead of moving them left and right to drop them where they belong. I did that a lot. So it was most definitely not a great way to play that game. Uh,
Yeah, but I mean,
yeah, but
I'm kind of surprised that I mean, it's sounds like all in all, it was probably the best experience that it like could have been as far as just your phone and the connection. Because with Luminous, it's a rhythm game, right? So you need that connection to be on, with no lag, at least relatively very low lag, and consistent. streaming, right?
Yeah, so it's rhythm in a sense. It's not like a when you say rhythm game, you think of Guitar Hero or DDR, something like that. So it's not quite to that extent of needing to be precise or accurate. It does have the musical elements, and but honestly, it works surprisingly well. I was actually pretty stoked about that. I had a little more snags with Ayuden last time,
Mhm.
just a little more jutters here and there, but I was also playing on Wi-Fi at that time. This time, like I said, I was just playing straight up on 4G, just using my data. And I also played a bit of Stardew Valley. Uh, I absolutely love that game. I've played that a whole bunch, and it played okay. I mean, it was like there was no real, it wasn't completely flawless, but also surprisingly well. Uh, Once again, my only real issues are some of the controls, trying to help navigate or each game you play tends to have the button layout just a little bit different. Sometimes a lot of times you can recustomize your buttons. And honestly, it makes me want to get a controller, but then I have to have a controller slash, phone dock unit, or at least have a controller synced and then hold my phone on my lap or have a stand for it.
They make
And then it kind
those
of,
like
I
like
know they do. And I just don't want to walk around with one. Okay.
yeah, I mean like they make them really cool now, like where it's like I mean it basically turns your phone into a switch, looking a device. That's super cool, but yeah, it's like yeah, how are you gonna really carry it around? And it's just how much are you really gonna
I mean,
play games on your
it's a little
phone?
more pocket size than a Switch, but at the same time, it's like I said, it's one extra piece of gear you have to carry around with you, and ideally, that's the thing is I prefer the size of my phone over a Switch, uh,
Mm.
just as far as portability and like
Yeah.
if I want to pick up and play something small. Honestly, the last game I would recommend for the most optimal with these kind of situations, and that was I played the Zero Escape series. I played just a little bit of the second game, Virtue's Last Reward. Um, I had the original game. Was it 999? Came out on the DS, and Virtue's Last Reward was a Vita game. And so these are just story based, like kind of semi choosing your own adventure. Um, you know, puzzle game where you have to find the clues. You're in a weird situation, and these ones you're usually you find yourself with a bunch of strangers locked up, and you don't know how you got to wherever you are, and everyone has their own backstory and agenda, and so you can't trust anyone. But you're trying to help solve your way out of escaping this locked facility. So think of it kind of like Saw or something like that, but less gory, at least right out the gate. Um, and there's usually some sort of death involved in these kind of games, and I think these ones work best. Like something, granted it's a Nintendo franchise, but like a Phoenix Wright or something like that, because it's mostly all dialogue based, so it's a visual novel esque, but you have some minimal gameplay functions, and you can an adventure game is perfect because you take your time. You don't need a lot of high speed or anything like that. So precision's not a key factor, and so if you don't mind just reading on your phone, then I think these type of games work the best.
Yeah.
I know there's a bunch of these type of adventures and games on Game Pass now, and so I'm like, yeah, you know what, this is probably the best things to play if you want to kill some time, and if you like to read and you have a good story, then for sure, play a lot of those games out.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard that these Zero Escape games are really great. They are, man, that like I've heard that for what they are, they're really good. For some reason, they're just not quite. They've never quite engaged me like well enough to make me try to try one. But playing it on a phone when you can't play other games sounds like it would be a really good place to play these. And yeah, this does sound like the kind of game that you would want to play on a stream because it's not dependent on a lot of those things. It is a little bit more like a visual novel in that aspect. Do you know if the these Zero Escape games, if they're on the Switch.
Oh, that I don't remember. It wouldn't surprise me. I know they
I
when they
feel like
came
they
out with this
are.
collection with 1 and 2, they brought it to most platforms at the time,
Yeah,
because that was right before they brought out the 3rd game, which I have not got a chance to play. Um, so, honestly, the Switch wouldn't be bad, but, like, for example, that a while ago, you played that, like, in Memory or Memorial Blue or something like that.
yeah,
Uh so a game like that, instead of having to sit at your computer desk and play it, just having it on your phone, even if you're just sitting on your couch, like or lying in bed, just looking at your phone, that'd be a much easier game to play than having to be at your computer desk, or have it set up to your TV and using a controller. I mean, something like that. I think that's why I'm kind of maybe going to use my phone more often to play these visual novel-esque games a little more because there's a Killer Paradise, I think it's called, which I've heard a lot of good reviews on. Had some really good music on it.
I've
It
heard that
has
was
like
good.
a synth style, like music style, and has a really unique art style to it. So I'm kind of gonna give that one a shot next. I think, but no, the Zero Escape games, lots of fun, for me at least, and uh, playing through Virtue's Last Reward has some twists in it that I really liked.
That's what I've heard.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah, so it's I totally recommend it. And it actually it's been I should have played through the first one again, but that one I had played more recently. So I mean, but playing through Virtue's Last Reward for for the first time was yeah, I didn't mind it at all. It really did. I think it was good use of the time and the equipment. But yeah, that's really about it. I know nothing
cool.
new, unfortunately. All these games have been out for a while, but um, in the end, it's so long as you have a steady connection, the Game Pass streaming is good enough. Maybe I should try next time some harder action games or something to see exactly what the lag and the response time is. Uh, you know, for the most part, everything else I played today, this last bit was more or less chill.
Yeah,
Luminous was the closest thing to having to worry about an actual time, but that, like I said, the worst part about the whole experience has been the virtual controller. So,
yeah. I bet that's not too much fun to deal with. Speaking of playing games on your phone, I have been thinking about trying to load up uh, an emulator for PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 games, and maybe trying to play some of those old JRPGs that I missed whenever they came out. Xeno Saga and or Xeno Gears and Xeno Saga being possibly some of the Wild Arms, because like those are games that I don't really want to dedicate a lot of time, or I don't want to dedicate like prime gaming time to in front of my computer, but being able to play them on like a phone would be kind of cool. So I might try that in the future, and then have something like that to share. But yeah, so I definitely see the benefit of going for those kind of games on your phone.
yeah, I would say you can skip Xenosaga. Just watch a YouTube movie of it because
Yeah,
that first game is just so much cutscene, very little gameplay. Xenogears is still amazing. It's one of my all-time favorites. That was in the early SquareSoft days of them just hitting America super hard and doing everything right. Between that and Final Fantasy VII and Parasite Eve, they really came out swinging. Uh, I know Wild Arms. I have a special spot for that first game. The actual graphics look just absolutely terrible, but the story was actually really good. The anime opening cutscene with the Western song is one of my favorite openings.
yeah.
Just because I love a good Western like melody, and they do a really good job doing a whistle tune, which I can't whistle to save my life. So I just think it's really good having that vibe. But there's a point in Wild Arms which is you have to look up a strategy guide. And that's what
Uh,
we did. Is my friend and I, we did everything we possibly could, looked everywhere. Like we had no idea what was going on. So one of the times we went to the mall. So we were in middle school, and we're like, yeah. eventually next time we get a chance to go to the mall, we have to go to the bookstore and look this up because the internet really wasn't a thing back then. And sure enough, we ran to the bookstore, found the strategy guide, flipped through it, tried to find the spot, like we found it. Yeah, there's that missing item, and here it is. And you never think to find it that once. That game is notorious for that one item not being findable by human nature. So unless
Good.
if you happen to be stupid lucky, which is really, really rare, you're gonna hit a wall and you'll be like, yo, okay, look it up.
Dude, it's that's how they sold strategy guides back in the day. Just put that one thing in there that you can't fucking find with normal human thought. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I might try to do some of that. It's kind of a dream. I don't know how much time I'm actually going to devote to fiddling around with stuff like that, and maybe and possibly bricking my phone. But anyway, I don't know. I think it'll be fun. But anyway, so that's what we've been playing and watching. So next is the news. But do you need to take a break or anything like that, or you want to power through?
I'm good.
All right, let's go ahead and power through with the news. So the first thing I pulled up here is an article from Video Games Chronicle. 18 European countries, consumer groups have joined the fight against loot boxes. The groups back a Norwegian report calling for a ban on deceptive design in video games. It says European countries, but I believe also Australia and New Zealand. Or no, actually, Austria. So yeah, it is just the European countries. Same thing. Austria and Australia, the exact same thing.
The G4 summit happened in whatever the G whatever summit in that when Korea hosted it at the time. They had figurines of all the different delegates or like some national clothing. And if I remember correctly, Australia, their figurine had like Lederhosen
Oh
and such
no!
on it.
Oh no! You got it wrong.
Yeah,
Someone
it
should have
was,
double
and it was
checked
like
that.
it was really embarrassing. It's like, oh wow, we were there for that during that time, and it was the only time that like the G summits didn't have a lot of protests or a lot of backlash because most of the people participating, they didn't really, like generally when you get a lot of protests or rioting, because you go somewhere that's fun, that's nice, has a lot of good extra things to do, and it's relatively cheap to actually go and cause trouble. But because it was in Korea, no one's like, I don't want to buy a ticket to protest, in Korea. So it was actually relatively tame, and it was just funny. But yeah, it's just like, oh, that probably happens more often than the world should admit. The Australia bit.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I'm guilty of it now too. So another I'm a statistic now, another victim of Austria and Australia. Um, so yeah, these countries are kind of coming together, talking about kind of how loot boxes are a problem. Some of the things they say, according to the report, which is a 59-page document. Um, the sale and presentation of loot boxes often involve exploiting consumers via exploiting cognitive biases and vulnerabilities through deceptive design, using aggressive marketing practices to push sales at every opportunity, giving meaningless or misleading transparency disclosures about the likelihood to win or lose that are difficult to assess. And they've got several more here. In general, like, I don't play games with loot boxes because I don't like them. I don't like loot boxes as a concept. I did used to buy Magic cards, and that is it's a little bit of a different thing, I think. When you buy a Magic booster pack, you are guaranteed one rare and two or three uncommon, and then the rest of the 11, well, and then I guess eight common cards. So you know what you're buying more or less, and you get like a foil rare or like a better uncommon or like a super rare card, or like a mythic card, which is even like more rare. That's possible, but you know you're always getting at least a rare card with with loot boxes, they're it's not always that clear cut. I don't think it's not exactly the same like every time, or at least like a baseline. Um, but I think some of them are more based on just like playtime, and you do like you can earn them through playtime and stuff like that. So it's kind of weird, but like I don't I don't like games with them because it just kind of distracts me from it and just makes me I don't know that makes me feel bad because I'm always like gosh, I just want like another loot box. I want that thing that's gonna come in the loot box, and I don't. It just feels like I'm not there for the game really.
Yeah, for me, on the other hand, I have uh, an amazingly bad luck at polls for things. So when I'm doing a draw of something, whether or not be cards, um, gambling, I don't know, these loot boxes, I always have very bad luck. It's pretty much guaranteed that I'm not uh, going to get what I want. And even when it's a game like Overwatch, where you can earn the currency you need and you can get a free pull, or like during the holiday events, you get free pulls and stuff like that. I rarely get anything good. When I'm playing, if you ever play a cell phone game, though, we explained it before, but the gotcha games for uh, Japanese style games where you're gonna randomly pull for new characters, Genshin Impact, something like a game
Yeah,
like that. Uh, I very rarely get any of the super or the SS rare or like the really high tier people, and same goes with anything like uh, games like Diablo or something like any of those loot shooters. Those are all free, like those. That's the game mechanics, but I have really bad drop rate, so
yeah. I mean,
I'm
kind of talking about that.
yeah.
Like there are people out there who have stupid luck. They just have stupidly good luck. Like I mean, I remember some kids growing up who would I don't even know if they really have these anymore, but they would enter like box top sweepstakes where you put like you buy like some cereal, take 5 box tops, and you get to enter a sweepstakes and win like $200 in Toys R Us whatever money or whatever thing, and they would win like often, and I'm just like, how is that possible? I don't know. I guess just
Yeah.
born under better stars than me.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, a coworker of mine, he played this one mobile gotcha game, and he's like, "Yeah, I play." He's like, "I played it for like a good couple months, and then I pulled literally five out of the five characters you can get from a box or set pull." He's like, "Yeah, I pulled five like ultra rares, like." I was like, after that, I just uninstalled the game because there's no way I can top that, and there was no point of it me playing this game anymore.
Fuck it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the thing is I generally do really bad, so I'd never purchase anything. I don't fall into the mindset of, oh yeah, maybe if I just put down $10 or the best value, I can get the most currency and do that. I'm like, it's one of those things that I'm like, no, even Overwatch, like I said, it's at least that way you can kind of earn, and it doesn't affect actual gameplay. It's just cosmetics. I can understand that, but at the same time, people still want the thing, the collectible item for to make their character look the best. And if the moment you make it a rarity, people are gonna want something. Just like how people think NFTs are like an actual good thing. They're like, yeah, it's a rare thing now. It's numbered. I need that, right? There's people that have that workings in their brain, uh, and
A lot of people.
it is what it is. I
You
mean, I mean, I've spent my stupid fair share of money on card games in the past, and that's why I kind of forsaken any CCGs because of how bad my luck is. I had bought in boxes in the past, just a straight up box of whatever card game I was playing, and I had pulled garbage, like nothing that's like, oh damn, dude, that's so cool, you got that. No, it's just like, oh, it's cool, I got this, and it's like mid tier, okay or good, but So afterwards, I started playing only CCGs.
mm,
Uh, so one of my favorites was Netrunner. Um, that one was it's no longer they stopped making it, but that one was straight up, hey, this is the new pack of cards coming out, and here are exactly the cards you're gonna get from this new deck. So you know exactly what's in there. Now where they get you is you can have up to three of whatever three of the same card as max in one deck. So if one card is OP, they're like, yeah, so this deck you're only going to get one of those cards. So you have to buy the whole like new booster deck 3 times
Uh,
um, to get the max of that one card if you're playing that certain build. Which that's of course where your local card shop comes into play, and you're like, I just want to buy that one card. I don't need all that other fluff, and it is.
yeah. Probably the best pull I've ever had is when I was a kid and the basic Pokemon trading card game came out. I didn't know. I was like, I like Pokemon. I want to buy this card pack. I think it was like the first or second card pack I ever bought. I pulled a first edition holographic Charizard, and I had no idea what I had. I was like, oh, cool, a Charizard. And like, it wasn't until like a few months later that I was like reading the Beckett Pokemon Collector and looking through the prices, and I was like, oh, this is cool. And I saw that Charizard. I was like, I think I have that. And I looked it up, and I was like, holy shit, that's worth like $350. It was wild. Never gonna have luck that good ever again. But anyway, yeah. In general, I don't have a problem with loot boxes as like a thing. I do think though that these countries are probably on the right track to regulate it and at least put it in the realm of. To me, I think it should be in the realm of adults only. I think these kind of things. I think these kind of things are gambling or gambling adjacent, and kids, children, people under the 18, especially, should not have their brains conditioned like this. There's some science to suggest that early exposure to this stuff is a problem.
Oh,
Um,
dude, hands down. No, it's the slot machine mentality. You get all the pretty shiny colors, lights, sound effects. Like they've done their homework to make the treasure. That's why it's a treasure chest when you open up most of them.
they
They're like,
glow and they
what's this magical thing you're
fireworks.
getting? And it's sparkle and glitter, and you hear a good thud, and you're like, yeah, it's all to get those synapses firing, just to hopefully get you going. And you, you say adults only, but like I've known adults, or young adults, like kids fresh out of college who have racked up some serious debt playing some stupid ass phone gotcha game.
Yeah,
Uh, and it's just like, it's nothing tangible about it. And it's just, yeah, unfortunately, it
yeah.
totally is an addictive person. If you have one of those personalities that can easily get hooked, uh, that you'd fall victim to it, and you shouldn't. You should. China, at least a long time ago, now have stated like all the odds that you have to have the things said
I
in
think
them,
that's
like
good too. Yeah,
yeah, and that you need that, like, just like a lotto ticket. You need to have it clearly stated that you have a one in like 100,000 chance of something. Because people are thinking that they actually have, like, oh, there's only this new loot box or this new season. It has like this many new outfits, and they don't do the math properly. Like, oh yeah, it's only so I have a one in this, like 1 in 10 chance. No, you have to calculate all the other things that have come in the past, because that all adds, to makes it that much harder.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. And like, I think the other thing too is that it's like you're saying, like it's digital, and it's like, one day when when like the League of Legends servers shut down, all that stuff that you bought on there it's gonna be gone. Like, it's gonna be. I mean, you could maybe save like screenshots of it or whatever, but it's gonna be gone. Like, I think the
not if
reason.
you have the NFT.
If you have the NFC. Yep, I suppose so. But and I guess that's why what makes me feel better about like a trading card game like Magic or Netrunner or whatever, um, is that you buy the physical thing. Yes, it's just cardboard, but it is a physical thing that you can buy, and like when the Russians attack and the lights go out, you can still play that trading card game by candlelight. Like, I've got a bunch of cards, and yeah, they're all kind of hodgepodge mismatch of this and that, but you could pull it out and make a like play a full game with a bunch of people, you know. So there's that kind of stuff that it just makes it a little better somehow. I don't know. I'm getting off kind of on a tangent, but I thought that was an interesting story, and I'm gonna keep kind of following this kind of stuff. Next up, the CEO of Take Two kind of sounded off on two interviews, or I guess one interview split into two articles, also coming from Video Games Chronicle. First of all, he talks about metaverses and how, I'll just read it. Take Two boss warns it may not end well for companies betting on blockchain based metaverses. Strauss Zelnick says he doesn't believe the word metaverse means guaranteed success. And I kind of read a little bit of the article. He kind of says that, like, you know, Take Two is going to pursue worlds that are kind of like metaverses, but he's not necessarily sold on like metaverses really being totally the future. Completely, I guess he says. I'm not skeptical at all about huge, interactive, dynamic, entertaining worlds because our company is responsible for housing minimally 3 of them. He talks about Grand Theft Auto, Red Dead Redemption, and NBA 2K. I'm a dyed in the wool believer that people will go to digital worlds to be entertained, and if you offer a super entertaining experience, I think people will flock to it. I think where my skepticism lies is every company suddenly believing that by saying the word metaverse adjacent to their company's business strategy, that means that somehow they'll be transformed and nirvana is around the corner, and naturally that's not the case. So I think it's just kind of interesting that he is expressing some healthy skepticism, I think, around it. They've kind of wanted, wasn't that kind of a trend like about 10 years ago to think that all the games were going to converge into one kind of world, basically like a metaverse?
Well, there's Ready Player One. Before that, though, was PlayStation Home. So for the
Yeah.
PS3, that's the closest thing they've had to like this quote unquote metaverse. It was literally a quote unquote hangout spot for the early days of Sony's online servers. They had little mini games you can play. I'm pretty sure paintball was one of them. The idea is you had your own house, and the trophies you were supposed to earn were supposed to be like showcased there. So that's why they look like trophies, and some of them had like certain images. Like I think it was supposed to be Lair, one of the early PS3 like games. It may have been a launch game, but like that one where you're supposed to get this, if you platinumed it or something, you get a trophy of a dragon, and it's a statue that you could place into your virtual apartment, and your friends can come over and hang out and chat. And so it's a it's like
It
the
didn't
Sims
work.
version of a chat room or something like that, or Second Life,
Yeah.
just without the sex, so.
Yeah. Yeah. It didn't really work out very well. I don't think it was really very well supported. But yeah, it's kind of weird. It's like, didn't we already have like a shot at metaverses? Like, I guess VR is going to make it different, make it more like worthwhile or possible. I don't know. But anyway, it's kind of an interesting idea that people are trying to revisit, and I don't know. It just seems annoying to me. It just seems like something that I don't want to do. I want to just play my game and then come back into the real world and eat a sandwich.
It The idea is it's supposed to be there for people who really like social media. That's the thing, is you're not really like glued to, all the different, things. And but for those, there's a large subset of people who love to be on TikTok 24/7, who stay to the Reddits or 4chans and all this other stuff. And you got the old people who love the Facebooks, especially if you're like you have a political statement that you just need to scream at the top of your soapbox. um and the
Well,
idea of being, you know having a place to do that and make your own avatar and stuff, I'm like, there are a lot of people I can see that would go for this. I personally am not a big fan of it, but and most of my friends are as they are repulsed by the idea, but um, I think I don't know. It's the corporate buzzwords. I think that the CEO got this right about thinking, yeah, people love the buzzwords. People are throwing out the metaverse and anything to try to make the investors happy and thinking like, oh yeah, there's ways for us to make money, and that's why NFTs are such a hot topic. And even though there's such a backlash, a vocal backlash about it, but everyone still tries to throw their own hat in the NFT
I
ring,
mean, there
and
was
then they're like,
just it was just such a
yeah.
big money grab. Like, it was just like, I mean, there was so many scams were going on, and I mean, but there's so much money to be made, even legitimately, from making like an NFT. I mean, Troy Baker even gave it a shot, and then tried to defend it, and then he was finally like, upon further consideration, we've decided that we're not going to go that route. It's like, oh, good. So you do care about your career a little bit. Yeah,
That was really funny to watch that unfold,
that
actually.
was funny. I hope we save the tweets. But yeah, yeah, that kind of stuff. If it's gonna work, it's got to enhance what it means to already be a human. Like social media, it taps into stuff that is just entertaining for humans in general. It's what we're already doing, but it's streamlined. Um, and so I think if there's a metaverse thing, it's gonna have to facilitate something like that. But it just kind of remains to be seen.
So you're just saying it has to be like the White Zombie song, "More human than the human."
Yes. So that's White Zombie, but then there was Rob Zombie, right?
Yes.
And it's the same guy.
I don't know their lineage. I know Rob Zombie is being different music from me personally, but I was into Dragula, and that was about it. For
Dragula.
yeah. That was a really good album. I mean, it was funny because I remember buying that in front of like my father had to be there because it was a like R18, or it had that parental advisory,
Yeah.
and like he just looks at it and it's uh I think he has like a pentagram engraved into his forehead or something like that, and looking all like undead, and he's like, "Is this satanic shit?" I'm like, "Nope." It's like it's just rock. He's like, "Okay." He just didn't care.
I don't give a shit. Yeah, I don't remember like I remember buying albums that had parental advisory on them. But and I had to be kind of sneaky about doing it. So I guess I had friends who were old enough, but I feel like there was a time when I was like 15 or 16 where I was just able to buy them where it was like super easy. I don't even know what I was doing to make that possible. But yeah. Anyway, the other article kind of that was about the same CEO is him talking about how he thinks that subscription services are. He says having their games on subscription services on day one doesn't make sense. He just kind of goes on to say like economically for their business model, it doesn't make sense to have Take Two games on these subscription services early on. Uh, yeah, I kind of I get it. It makes sense. Um, I think he's right, but I also kind of think that like I don't know, there might be a way for that to change in the future. I don't know if
Yeah, well, it depends on the kind type of game they make, though. Sony said something similar, and when you have a single player experience, it doesn't really benefit you as a company to do that because once they're done with the game, that's it. They toss it. But if you have something that's either it's a continuous, ongoing, live game where you can buy season passes or where you can buy any customization things or future DLC, and you have that line, the funnel of or the production line of DLC coming down, like, yeah, all right, the base game is free, but everything else you want to play, this is what you're paying for. And when your brain could in the end, you might spend way more on the season passes, but you're like,
Yeah.
okay, well, I'm only spending like 15-20 bucks, every 6 months or something like that. That's reasonable, and then you don't think about, oh yeah, in the end, that's like, $200 or something like that. Um, but it's the easier pill to swallow for most people. But when you got a single player game that's like a $70 game now or something like that, 60 to $70, you're like, well, once I'm done with this game after a week or so, that's it. Or, hey, I played this to my fill. Yeah, I'm not going to finish this game, but luckily I didn't pay anything extra for it. It's a lot harder to buy a copy of a game, and like, you're more committed to it if you're spending 60 or 50 or 60 or $70, and you're going to end up wanting to play more of it. But if not, then guess what? The company got your money. They're happy with what they got.
Yeah.
So,
I think what worries me about it is that um, if the subscription model does kind of really take off and become like wildly successful, then there's not going to be as much of an incentive to make single player games. Um, and they're going to start to make games if they are somehow single player. They're going to make games that are probably more likely to be episodic and broken up unnecessarily just to keep you like paying for the subscription for the game that you want. So yeah, I mean like I'm kind of glad that they're still thinking about these things in these terms, because it shows that they do want to make single player experiences and maybe not um, fall prey to doling out little bits of game every month or so in order to keep people on some kind of a subscription. So there's hope for the future, I suppose. But anyway, it'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out.
yeah, for sure.
Last little story here. Sonic Frontiers premiered 7 minutes of gameplay on IGN, and I had a chance to take a look at it. Just kind of talking a little bit about it. It is Sonic in a 3D open world. Um,
Oh yeah, yeah. They showed the trailer on one of like within the last year, right? So
Probably, yeah.
it's like a vast, like, empty field type of world.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So watching the footage, it looks promising. It looks very different than the Sonic games on the Dreamcast or the GameCube. It looks a little bit more, I don't know, adult or serious somehow. Um, but kind of watching it, it does look a little bit boring. There's barely any enemies, and I don't think any of them they actually dealt with in the gameplay. Open world seems a bit bare. I mean, it's like mountains and grasslands, but it does seem like they've matched the size of the world with the speed of Sonic. So like, you can walk really slowly everywhere, or you can go Sonic speed, and it takes you like a reasonable amount of time to get from point A to point B. Um, so that seemed kind of like, okay, they're doing this right. They have like little things you jump on, you get rings, and then you can grind on rails around, and this kind of stuff that seems to be there sort of just for the sake of like you playing the game, I guess. It's sort of weird. Like you're like, why am I jumping and getting these rings, and like what's forcing me to do that? I don't know. It's sort of odd. There's some puzzles that they showed. They seem pretty normal, run of the mill, like turn this thing here and make these three things go this way in order to open a gate. Okay, cool. But like there's a lot of points where Sonic is standing still or walking kind of slowly because that is what's required of the game. And whenever that happens, it feels like the game is just at a standstill. Like it just feels like there's like, I mean, it just looks like it feels like there's nothing going on here. So it seems like a game that needs more time and more stuff added in. And an open world is cool, but it does need to feel like, okay, any direction I go, I'm going somewhere. I'm gonna have to deal with something. Um, so it's pretty. It seems like a step in the right direction, but um, anyway, it looks like it's got some work that they need to do still to it.
Yeah, I was curious about it from the original trailer that they showed, and I'm I guess I just don't care, mainly because I
Yeah.
lost hope that Sonic, other than that, Sonic Mania, like I've kind of lost a hope that Sonic could be good again. Uh, the idea of having an open world and being able to traverse really fast, that's key. They did it in, I think it was the old game Prototype,
Hmm.
that let you run really fast and just climb straight up buildings and just at a full sprint, and that was really nice. They later did stuff like that for like the Saints Row games as well, and that was a lot more enjoyable. As far as traversal goes. So the fact that this is a lot of open fields from at least the pictures they showed, you have to try to make things a little bit more entertaining to get to point A to point B. Uh, I mean, just imagine if Elden Ring had rails you could just grind on. I mean, that game would be so much better. Uh,
Yeah, it'd be like it'd go from like a 9.5 to a 9.7.
I mean, just imagine a torrent jumping on a bounce pad. Oh wait, kind of does actually. Uh,
Yeah, you kind of got a point
those
there.
those large gusts of wind. But yeah, so I mean, I believe it's another Unreal Engine game coming out, and they kind of been everyone's seeming to turn to Unreal to make the assets a little easier to handle. And there's some people are a little upset with that, that being the common trend because you're losing a lot of specialty engines and uh, Unreal isn't the end all be all, but it is a lot makes it streamlines a lot of things. And if you have a special engine like the RE engine, for example, you have to then train whomever you get to join your team.
To use
Now,
it.
this is the nuances of our engine, and here's how you can optimize it. But then, if you have someone who's been there from the beginning and they're getting really good at it, and then all of a sudden they're like, "Yeah, I'm going to bounce and go somewhere else," then you just lose someone who's really, clutch. But while on the other hand, if you're just sticking with someone who, like, hey, you've done these other games, and hey, guess what? That's also the Unreal. All right, then you can fit right on into our game. It makes it a lot easier just to swap people out. Um, so some people are saying how the game just doesn't quite look as polished as maybe as it could. Uh,
Yeah,
I'm I still think it's way too early. So I actually don't know what their slated time frame for this was.
yeah, me either.
Uh, but yeah, it's just the game has plenty of time to look better, and uh, I mean I'm sure they're gonna take advice from uh, Breath of the Wild and make sure that every mountaintop has something to do, or because that was one thing they did is really excellent is just no matter where you were, if you did a full 360 turn, you could at least find one object that kind of catches your attention, whether it be a peak of some sort, something glistening in the distance, but you're like, hey, what's that over there? And you subconsciously would be like, Maybe I'll go check that out."
Yeah.
uh
Does
yeah.
does Sega still own Sonic? I know like
Yes.
Sonic Team is like there's like a developer that's like or there was like a Sonic Team thing. I just feel like they've never like Sega's never given a shit about Sonic since the Genesis, I don't think. Because like all of the games since have been they've been half baked and like, well, we're gonna do this and we're gonna do that and we're gonna do this and it's never they've never handled it with the care of Mario, which understandably they're not Nintendo and that's why they lost to them. But you would think that with something like Sonic, who was their, basically the mascot for the company for like a decade, um, if not more, that they would go, okay, we're gonna at some point along the line, we're gonna make a Sonic game that is gonna come into the future and is gonna be about speed and stuff, but is gonna be about a lot more rather than just kind of like, I don't know. It just feels like to me they've never taken the care that Sonic could use and sell a lot. I mean, if you really turned it around and you made like a really good Sonic game with maybe more to do than just go fast, then I feel like it would sell better than it has, and it would be a more popular character than it is now. Though I guess there's plenty of Tumblr users that would beg to differ. But anyway,
Yeah, well, that's the problem is you're thinking that there's a possibility that there is a good Sonic game, because there hasn't like Sonic was a time and place thing. They did a great job of selling that attitude in the Genesis era, where
it's
that's
it's
all the
called
Genesis was.
it's called
Uh,
Tude. Excuse me.
and I mean, they ended up doing a lot of good things in that original time frame. I mean, playing Sonic now, honestly, if you go back to the original games, other than having nostalgia for it and liking the music, it's kind of a sloppy mess. I mean, it's like, you're going really fast. You're like, okay, cool, I can barely keep up. This is kind of fun.
Ka-ching!
And all of a sudden you hit something that stops and you're like, okay, now you're trying to move floor. It's like moving through mud. And then all of a sudden you finally,
You're speeding up
uh, you know,
again. Yeah.
yeah, or you're like, I'm gonna sit and spin for a while and then get the momentum to go. And then, yeah, okay, cool, I'm doing really good. And then I hit something that makes you stop. And you're like, dang it. Every
Yeah.
time you stop, it's a chore. And but back then there wasn't a lot to compete against. This was very unique and it was fun because there really wasn't much else. Since then though, I mean the only Sonic game that I really can remember liking was I think it was Sonic Chronicles, and that was the one BioWare made for like the DS or something like that. It was
Hmm.
either the DS or the Advance. I think it was the DS. So
It's probably good.
um, yeah, and that was actually, like, solid. That was BioWare at, peak BioWare, time frame, and, other than that, the last game that really made it big was, like, Sonic Team Racing.
Yeah.
Um, you actually had,
That makes
a lot
sense.
of yeah, and then but you're like, "Oh, yeah, a racing game with Sonic," where he drives a vehicle? The guy who can go supersonic, he literally goes Super Saiyan, he turns all yellow and flies through the sky,
Don't think about
has
it
to
too much.
drive a vehicle.
Don't think about it too much. Yeah, I mean, you could do something with that too. You could have like a foot race, and then like vehicle races and stuff like that.
The foot race is already there, and that's, Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games.
Yeah, yeah. Like, um, I mean, you're right. Like, there's a little bit of like, well, what else do you do with this? But I think that if they hadn't tried to stick so hard with like, well, let's just try to make that 2D go fast Sonic and put it into 3D. If they'd gone like, well, that's definitely a big part of it, but we need to, you know, but is it fun? Like that's the question is like, is it fun? Is it really fun? And at the end of the development cycle, if you can't answer that with a yes, then you've got to go back to the drawing board. Or if you don't have like if you're working on like a good idea, you've got to make sure that that idea is it ends up being like, okay, we know that whatever the game ends up being, there's this one mechanic in it that is going to be pretty fun and it's going to add something to what we've done so far. Um,
They've tried so much with Sonic, though.
but
That's the thing is they've really tried
there's
to make
there's
they
a good
brought
game in
guns into
there.
the equation. They made sure that he turned into a monster. Um, they literally have done so much with them, and they're like, yeah, nothing sticks because maybe that's not the right way to look at Sonic.
Yeah, I
On the
think
other hand, Sonic as a media franchise
yeah.
outside of gaming, that's where the money is. I mean, they had 2 cartoon shows back when Sonic was still massive, very different cartoon shows. Since then, they had made quite a few other cartoon shows as well. I mean, he's in a band with his siblings that apparently, in one of the spin-offs,
Yeah.
they play like a guitar and stuff. It's ridiculous. Uh,
Yeah,
and the comic book series with Archie Comics lasted they might still be going on for all I know.
those I did
But
have some of
yeah.
those. Those were pretty good. They were very well drawn. At least the covers were awesome. I think the inside was okay, but those were actually really. I remember reading those were pretty well drawn. Yeah, like Mario does a good job of adding mechanics, but I feel like Sonic has always just added gimmicks. Just like, well, you can have a gun now. Okay, let's give Mario a gun. I mean, it'd probably actually be
They
pretty
did.
cool. It'd probably be pretty cool.
They did. Ubisoft gave Mario a cannon.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so Sonic Frontiers, it looks somewhat promising, but I'm not gonna hold my breath. With that, that's gonna be the end of the news, and thus the end of our podcast. Yeah, the pod has been cast. Joe, do you have anything that you'd like to tell our audience?
Yes. Watch out for Sasquatch.
Okay. All right. With that, we'll catch you guys next time. Thanks.
Take it easy.
Bye.